Hi everybody, welcome to episode 5 of Private and Listed. I'm going to continue on the theme of baby boomer businesses for another episode. And the reason for that is we've had a terrific question from a listener. And it goes like this. It goes, I wonder what your thoughts are on the emotional journey versus the financial journey that a founder selling might be. Do they find it hard to sell their baby, or do they feel it a bit mercenary? It's a great question. Short answer is that they're both intertwined, in my opinion, and I've had examples with both. Let's deal with the emotional journey first. Guess how would I view that? Identity versus purpose. You've been created and built a business for a long period of time, and you want to retire, but you're dealing with an identity struggle. What happens when I sell this, and what do I do? Am I going to have despair or discomfort? Have I got seller's remorse? Succession or retirement is sort of key to this, because if you can set it up as succession, it often just creates more stability in your mind, and particularly around people involved in the business and your family. If it's retirement, then that involves a lot of more discussions with your family and all sorts of things, and the support system around you. The financial journey, i.e. maximising the financial value, about a third of people prioritise and prepare for a sale, a formal exit strategy. Not everybody does that. They think about it and then they think, how do I go? And then there's valuation, or how do I optimise the valuation that I want or I think I should get. The realities of what the market is prepared to pay for your business. And then, financial planning. Systems and processes, which we've talked about in earlier episodes. Most successful transactions come from a transition rather than a sudden departure, in my opinion. And this involves an exit strategy and getting proper advice. External advisors, as we discussed earlier, when they know what they're doing, they're useful. Because you'll come up with things that you haven't thought about, because you're used to running your business, and selling the business is emotive, but it's mostly new to you. So some of the examples of businesses that I've been engaged to orchestrate to do this, that people in their baby boomer ages that we've discussed. We dealt with one as an example in furniture manufacturing and export, high-end furniture manufacturing and export in Europe. It was a terrific business. It was profitable. The founders had built it up over many, many years, and it was a multi-award winning business. It was in Europe. They owned a couple of businesses, but they were pragmatic in selling the business. They weren't emotionally attached to it. Of course, they were proud of it. And of course, they wanted the new owner, whoever that may be, to continue to run it as is, but they were happy to exit. They did have a family member involved in the business, but that was okay. The new potential acquirer could decide what to do with that business. The issue with that business was that although it exported across the UK and Europe, its operations were remote. So its warehouse was remote. It was in a major city, but it was in a city well outside the city. And when we went to potential buyers, the constraint was, of course, they liked the business. It was profitable. It was a going concern. Could it be scaled exponentially? Maybe, maybe not. Could it have been scaled overseas? Could manufacturing have been moved to other places? Potentially. But the business was located in this outer city. The manufacturing was done offshore, and it was near a port. So that was the reason they did it. And they lived there. That was the reason they did it. But if people that looked at buying the businesses were thinking, I need to move this into the UK and whatever. Created quite a few barriers, quite a bit of difficulty, because it was a pretty cool business. And the owners were realistic about the sale price. I mean, they wouldn't give it away, but it was realistic. It just became a headache to move because of needing to move the head office and the warehousing, and from there to somewhere that people were more familiar with. There wasn't local people that were able to do that. So that they were not emotionally attached to it, and their valuations were realistic. I had multiple discussions with them, had conversation, introduced them to parties that were potentially interested, that were in their wheelhouse. There was never any pushback. We couldn't get it over the line because of the remoteness of where the business was sitting. But there was genuine interest in the business. That was the thing that couldn't get it done at that particular point in time. There's another business that I was engaged in, which ended up being quite successful. It was a global business, but it was a design and packaging business for a pretty cool industry that, serviced the world's leading brands. And, that was, again, based in Asia. A huge amount of the sales was obviously to the US, where a lot of the brands were located. The founder and owner had a wonderful, successful track record in this industry for a long period of time. Blue Chip was known by everybody throughout the industry and was pretty cool. But it's design and packaging. It's not product. So let's call it. It's not sexy, right? It's design and packaging. It's pretty cool in the output, but it's not a cool bolt-on business. So that took quite a bit of work to go to private equity businesses that could potentially bolt that onto their existing businesses, and it took a while. The founder was extremely proud of what they built, discussed it with their family members, and thought, look, I want to retire. I want to move this on. Of course, when you move it on, you want it to continue. You don't want it to fall away. The person engaged me, and I counselled them, and we talked about it, and then went to a couple of private equity firms. One of which ended up inquiring, but it took quite a while. It took a long time. COVID also got in the way, which made it go on a lot longer. But I've said this in a previous episode, that when a business or private equity firm or somebody that is not familiar with exactly what you're doing but wants to bolt it on, it's a longer process, because they need to ask a lot of questions that they don't understand the industry. So they are asking you questions all day, every day. And to this person's credit, it did do their head in, but they didn't lose their focus, because the buyer, quite rightly, is going, look, I want to do it. I want to de-risk it. It is something that we want to bolt on to an existing portfolio that we've got. We want you to stay on, but we want to ask a lot of questions. And after a while, the owner, who again is in a baby boomer age bracket, sort of says, well, how long is this going to take? Why are they asking all that? And you can see buyers want to de-risk things, right? Is it scalable? It's become infinitely scalable. They acquired it, and it's now a much bigger proposition. It was big. It's now a lot bigger proposition. Did they let the founder and owner out? No, the founder and owner wanted to go within sort of 6 months. 2.5 years on, the founder's got more in its portfolio, and it's anyway, it's worked for everybody, but so they weren't emotionally attached to it, and that's a good thing. And the third one I'll talk about is construction. A business that's in the construction industry. It's plumbing, commercial plumbing. The owner and founder is terrific. They're not emotionally attached. The business is profitable, and they want to move it on for their own reasons, which don't need to be discussed on the podcast, but they're prepared to stay on with the team, ongoing in the future because they're happy to scale the business. I guess the reason for the exit is that they have a lot of they win a lot of tenders and they have a lot of business, and it would involve putting more capital in to the business to scale it. So the natural thing is to bolt on with a bigger organisation. It's founder-led, but the founder is prepared to stay on, and the business is quite visible and people know about it. Slightly under baby boomer type business, but it's another one where not emotionally attached to the business. So I think the answer to the question is both. I think you have to. It's the advice that you get given to decide whether, if you're uptight about it, you're not ready to sell. And if you do want to sell, you probably need to have those. You do need to have those discussions in advance and start preparing, because the same questions that we've discussed on the last few podcasts will come up, and you need your systems and your processes in place, and then you need to be prepared to answer questions that you just haven't had before. But getting the right advice, finding the right buyers can shorten the process and make it more palatable for you. You still need to run your business while you're in a sale process. It doesn't happen overnight. Planning is important. And look, I'll leave it there. Thank you for listening. You can ask me any further questions on heyjamie@privateandlisted.com. It's on. My episodes are on Spotify and Apple, as you know. And I'll go from here. But thank you very much for listening.